Good evening, good morning, everyone. I am getting some technology stuff, making sure that. Anyway, some of you I have seen almost daily and some I have not. So in any case, happy Losar, happy Lunar New Year. This is the year of the ox. It's the second in the cycle of 12 animals. Last year was the rat. This year is the ox. So happy New Year to everyone. And so this is our every Wednesday Dragong Dharma Kirti International Sangha. The international is, I suppose, a little kind of like showy to call it that. But it's literally accurate. Now, thanks to Zoom, we have everyone, we have different people joining us from different places. So more so just a recognition of that fact. I do not intend for this and do not have any fantasies of this, like, turning into some sort of big organization, blah, 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 all of that. I really have no patience for organizations. So the point is that we can all come together to practice. And then post-pandemic, this particular aspect, I hope to continue, as in those who are locally here in Asheville. Of course, we will meet at the temple, Urban Dharma Temple downtown. And then we will continue to Zoom for all of you who don't live close to Asheville to be able to come physically on every Wednesday. But perhaps, some Wednesday, you could surprise us even when you're from other parts of the world and join us here, or other parts of the US to join us here in Asheville, North Carolina. So beyond this pandemic, this particular Zoom program, I hope we can continue on. So then when I go to your homes, your country, your place, then we will, of course, hopefully meet there as well. So let us begin with the opening recitations as usual on page 1. All mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. All mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. All mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. Thus, until I achieve And thus, until I achieve Buddha, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Now turn to page 5. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until Bodhi is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all wandering beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until Bodhi is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all wandering beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until Bodhi is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all wandering beings. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. Bajra Samaja, Bajra Samaja, Bajra Samaja. Protectors of all sentient beings without exception, deities who vanquish the ruthless hordes of martyrs, knowers of everything as it is, Bhagavans and your retinues, please come here. Argam Padyam Pushpe Dupe Aloke Gende Nevede Shapta Partija Soha. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, 4 continents, sun and moon, I hold in mind as a Buddha land and offer it. May all wandering beings experience such a pure realm. Whatever slight virtue that may have been gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching, I now dedicate to complete Bodhi. So now we'll take a few moments. Take a few moments to allow both body and mind to settle. Let body and mind settle into their own places. Let body settle evenly. Let mind settle evenly. Trusting that when we get out of the way, when we drop our plans, our agenda, our control, and just do the minimal of maintaining awareness and mindfulness in the present moment, in this body, in this mind, with this body, with this mind, then body will find its own place, and mind will find its own place. Mind and body right here on this seat, in this place, in this room, in this house, in this neighborhood, in this part of town, in this state, in this country, on this spot on earth. in this little speck in this universe. Take your place, be present for both body and mind to settle, settling into their own places. If you can just maintain moment to moment the state of allowing body and mind to settle, then there's nothing else that you need to do on top of that. But if you find that you need a little bit more than just trying to settle or allowing body and mind to settle, then you can consider perhaps breath as an anchor to help you settle. The arising and the ceasing of breath, rising, ceasing, coming, going. As you note breath arising in your body, you'll feel the energy that comes up, the alertness, the radiance. And as breath dissolves, you feel a sense of relief, rest, and ease, followed by the next moment of breath arising. You feel again energy, brightness, radiance, clarity. And as you exhale, pay attention to how every muscle, every part of your body relaxes as you let go of breath. And then again, the next breath arises. And once again, feeling energetic, feeling alive, feeling radiant. And in the next moment, experiencing the relaxed state, open state, the spaciousness that arises from letting go. And again, breath arises. Arising, ceasing, coming, going. Now we continue on with the recitation at the bottom of page 8. Namo to the Guru, the complete purity of phenomenal existence. I make offerings to you who manifest in the ground of phenomenal existence, and supplicate you for the total liberation of the three realms. Grant your blessings of dredging samsara from its very depths. Lord, wish-fulfilling gem, ornament of my crown, beyond word and expression is your victorious mind. Endowed with the five superior primordial wisdoms, epitome of love, the one with kindness, precious protector of wandering beings. I supplicate you in the innate state of my mind, bless me in that state of suchness. Grant your blessings for realizing this primordially birthless and completely pristine mind as the Dharmakaya beyond thoughts. To the Bhagavan, the Tathagata, the foe destroyer, the completely perfect, fully awakened one, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, gone to bliss, knower of the worlds, tamer of beings, charioteer and unsurpassable one, teacher of gods and humans, the supreme and incomparable king of the Shakyas, who is free from the minutest stains, placing my head at your feet, I pay homage with devotion. When you were born supreme among humans, you paced out 7 steps on this great earth and declared, I am supreme in this world. Homage to you who was wise even then. Possessing a pure body and an excellent supreme form, an ocean of wisdom, a mountain of gold, famed throughout the 3 worlds, homage to you, supreme protector. With the supreme marks and a face like the stainless moon, homage to you, golden colored one, free from stains. There is none like you in the 3 worlds. Homage to you, incomparably wise one. Supreme among humans, charioteer and tamer of beings, the Tathagata who severs the all-enmeshing fetters, who with senses pacified and utterly pacified is skillful. Homage to you who dwelt at Shravasti. You protector who possesses great kindness, all-knowing teacher, perfect one, basis of oceans of merit and qualities, homage to you, the Tathagata. Purity, the cause of freedom from attachments, virtue that liberates from the lower realms. This alone is the sublime ultimate reality, homage to the Dharma that pacifies. Having been liberated, you show the path to liberation. Devoted to the moral precepts, you are a field of perfect qualities. Homage to you, the sublime Sangha. Now please go to the Tara text on page 1. Utterly and sincerely I pay homage to exalted noble Tara and all the conquerors and their heirs dwelling in the 10 directions and 3 times. I offer flowers, incense, lamps, fragrant scents, food, music, and the like. Physical and mentally conjured, noble lady, and your complete retinue, please accept them. From beginningless time until now, the 10 non-virtues and 5 heinous sins, arisen from the mind under the power of afflictive emotions, all these misdeeds I lay them bare. I rejoice in the merit of all the virtues accumulated in the 3 times by heroes, partakers, bodhisattvas, and ordinary beings, and so forth. Please turn the wheel of Dharma of the greater, lesser, and common vehicles in accordance with the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings until samsara has been completely emptied. Out of compassion, do not pass into nirvana. Please have regard for sentient beings sinking in this ocean of suffering. Whatever virtue I may have gathered, may it become a cause for the awakening of all. May I quickly become an excellent guide for all wandering beings. Now go back to page 1. Now in the Tibetan. Jism Pama Roma Dan Joju Dusum Shubaye Gyawe Seje Tamjela Gune Dangwe Jasela Medo Dupo Marmedre Shashe Romo Azoba Mujo Yinki Junebu Pame Sonam Shisu So Kotoma Mene Date But Mige Judan Samenga Semni Nyomon Angurbe Deba Tamje Shangbarji Ninto Rangyao Janju Sem Sozuen Gewa Laso Be Duzun Gewa Jisa Be Sonam Lani Dayirang Semchen Namgi Sampada Loyi Jita Jita Wa Jejung Tomon Tepa Ye Chogin Kolo Korduso Korwa Jise Matombar Nyangen Data Metu Ye Dungyao Gyaso Jingwa Ye Semje namla shiksu so dagi so nam ji sakpa tamje changchum gyugyu ne rinpo mi tong chowa yi rinpe peo du da gyunju. Now page 5. Homage to Tara, the noble and sublime. Homage to Tara, swift and courageous. You drive away all our fears with Tara. Savior is fulfilling all aims with the Ture. With syllable Swaha, we offer you homage. Homage to Tara, swift and courageous, gazes as quick as flashes of lightning. From Lord of Triloka, his face like a lotus, you rose on a billionfold blossoming stamens. Homage to you with a face that resembles a meeting of 100 full moons in autumn. And who with the brightness of stars by the thousands shine in a vast perfect light of resplendence. Homage to you, the golden-hued lady, whose hand is adorned by a blue lotus flower. Your scope of activity is giving exertion, fortitude, peace, tolerance, meditation. Homage to you, the victorious and boundless, from the Tathagata's crown emanated. Those who obtain every transcendent virtue, offspring of victors, rely on your guidance. Homage to you, filling realms of desire, is aspect and space with the Hong and Tutara. Sevenfold worlds under feet you can trample. You bring all and everything under your power. Homage to you who is worshipped by Indra, Agni, Marut, Vishweswara, and Brahma. All the Vetalas, Buddhas, Gandharvas, all well as the Yakshas give praise in your presence. Homage to you who by tread and the pad sounds crush every magical wheel evil forces. Right leg extended and left bent you trample. Within whirling flames you are blazing intensely. Homage to you, the swift terrifying, who conquers the most tenacious of Maras. Knitting the brow on your lotus-like features, you slay every foe without an exception. Homage to you with your fingers in mudra, adorning your heart to show the three jewels. Your masses of light are beautiful swirling, connecting with every direction in circles. Homage to you from your crown manifesting joyous, majestic, brilliant garlands. With the great clangor of laughter to Tara, demons and worlds are in your domination. Homage to you with the magnetized powers, who gather protectors of earth in assembly. With syllable hung in your brow which is frowning, you liberate every poor destitute being. Homage to you with the crescent moon crown, while your adornments so brilliantly sparkle. And Amitabha is placed in your top knot, ceaselessly vast rays of light radiating. Homage to you seated in flaming garlands, engulfed in a fire like the end of the Kalpa. Right leg extended and left bent defeating enemy hordes with your joy bringing swirling. Homage to you with your palms you are striking the earth while using your feet to be stamping. Regularly frowning with the Hung letter, you shatter the sevenfold layers of locusts. Homage to you, blissful, virtuous, and peaceful. Enjoy the domain of the tranquil nirvana, fully possessing the Om and the Swaha. You overcome even the greatest of evils. Homage to you who, encircled by joyous, utterly smashes the forms of opponents, clearing away with the hung of awareness, arranges the mantra by tenfold of letters. Homage to you with feet stamping Ture, fully presenting the form of the Hung seed. You cause the three worlds to all be a tremble, including Mount Meru, Mandara, and Vindhya. Homage to you whose hands is a deer mark, shaped like the Deva's ocean of nectar. Sound of the pet and the twice uttered Tara, without an exception, dispels every poison. Homage to you who is asked for your guidance by rulers of Devas, by gods and Kinnaras. Your armor of joy, a radiant brightness, removes every nightmare and calms every quarrel. Homage to you whose two eyes are shining with brilliant light like the sun and the full moon. By Tutara and with the twice chanted Hara, you clear away even infectious diseases. Homage to you who can come down completely through the array of the threefold thatness. Crowds of Vetalas, Buddhas, and Yakshas, suppressed with the two rays of blind Mother Tara. Together with this, the root mantra in praise form. These were the 21 verses of homage. Now back to page 5. Om Jisma Pama Roma La Chazalo Jaza Dare Nirma Pamo Dudara Re Yiji Pasama Ture Dungun Jimbe Droma Swaha Yinge Gyola Duda Chasa Droma Nirma Pamo Chene Geji Lodang Drama Jidem Sungun Chuge Shogi Gesar Jewa Leni Juma Chasya Dong Ke Dawa Kundu Gangwa Gyani Zebe Shama Karma Tong Tra Sopa Nam Girab Du Jube Ora Barma Chasya Serungu Junye Keki Peme Chani Nampar Gemma Jimpa Chundu Katum Shiva Zopa Samte Chuyu Nima Chasa Deshi Shebe Sutor Taye Nampa Gyawa Chuma Malu Paro Chinpa Tope Gyawe Seki Shintu Tenma Chasa Tu Tara Hong Ye Ge Do Dan Cho Dan Nam Ka Gangma jiten dun po shab ginente lupa me pa gyung pa nyuma cha sao kya jin me la chang pa long la na so wang chu cho ma chung po ro la dri za nam dan u jin su ki dun ne to ma cha sa tra che ja dam pe ki pa ro tu go rab tu jom ma ye kun yong kyan shab ki nen te me bar tu pa shin tu bar ma cha sa tu re ji pa che mu tu gi pa bo nam par jom ma chu ge she ni chu ge she ni chu ni den ze zha o tam je ma lu so ma cha se kun ju sum chun cha ge zor mo tu ga nam par ge ma lu chu ki ko lo gen be rang gi o ki zong nam chu ma cha se ram tu ga wa ji be u gen u ki chen wa be ma she pa ram she tu da ra yi du dang ji de wan du ze ma cha se sa shi kyung we zo nam tam je gyu pa nyu ma ni ma zhō ne yo wa yi ge hong gi pong pa tam che nam pa zhō ma cha se da we dun bu u gen gen pa tam che shin tu bar ma re we zhō na o pa me le tak pa shin tu o ram ze ma cha se kya be ta me ta bar we cheng we u na ne ma ye kyang yong kun kun ne kor ge zha yi pung ni nam par jom cha sa sa shi ngo la cha ge tiu gi nun jin sam gi dong ma cho ne jin se yi ge hong gi ren pa dun po nam ni ge ma cha se de ma ge ma shi ma nyang en de shi ju yu ni ma swaha dang yang da den pe ding pa chen po jom pa ni ma cha se kun ne ko ram ga we ta yi lu ni nam par gem yi ge ju we nga ni ko pe ring pa hong le tro ma ne ma cha se tu re sham ni da pe hong ge nam pe sa bun ni ma re ra men da ra dang be je jik den sun nan yo wa ni ma cha se la yi zo ye nam pe ri da ta je na chak na nam ma ta ra ni ju pe gi yi ge dung nam ma lu pa ni se ma cha se la yi song nam kyao bo la dang mi am chi yi den ma kun ne go cha ka we si ki cho dang mi lang yen pa se ma cha se ni ma da wa ge pe chen ni po la o ram se ma hara ni jo tu da ra yi shin tu dra bu rim ne se ma cha se de ni chun nam ko be shi we tu dang yang da dem Don dang ro la nu jin so nam jom pa tu re ram chung nim sa we nga ki to ba di da cha sa wa ni ni shu sa chi. So that is the 21 taras, yeah, in English and in Tibetan. 21 taras praises, 21 praises to Tara. It's a common prayer, supplication that is memorized by Tibetans, Bhutanese, all the Himalayan Buddhists, from young, people memorize this 21 verses of praise to Tara. So Tara is the embodiment of all the enlightened activities, the activities of benefiting beings of all Buddhas is embodied by this figure, this Buddha called Tara. Tara, her name means she who liberates. So she liberates beings from samsara, from the cycle of confusion. So it's good to kind of balance, I think, our practice with devotional practices. Otherwise, sometimes I think, in part because of our modern lifestyle, so to say, city people, we are all educated kind of like in the Western way, so we put a lot of trust, I think, in like technology and methods. And so there is certainly a lot of Buddhist practice that is very methodical. And I think in part our attraction to Buddhism, if Buddhism wasn't the tradition that we were born in, is in part due to how methodical Buddhist practice is. I remember years ago, I met someone who self-identified as a Baptist Buddhist. And so when we asked him, like, could you explain that a little? And he said, well, I say I am a Baptist Buddhist because I am Baptist because, he said, and in fact, earlier in his life, he was a Baptist minister. But then he said, the reason why I was a Baptist minister and then now I still consider myself Baptist is because I was really taken by Jesus's commandment for us to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. So then he said, that was, at the heart of why he is Christian, he is Baptist. But then he said, then he talked about his journey to Buddhist practice. He said, but then, as the years go by, he felt that at least for him, within the Christian tradition that he grew up in, that he was born into, he could not find methods to help him actualize that commandment of how to love my neighbors as I would love myself. He said, at least for him, he could not find the methods within the tradition that he was brought up in. And then that was what then brought him to Buddhist practice. Because he says in Buddhism, he found the methods on how to actualize, how to live the commandment of Jesus, to love your neighbor as yourself. So anyway, coming back to this, to make my point, there are a lot of very methodical practice. And so this methodical approach, in some ways, I think, resonates with us because we largely have been educated in a system that more or less, really trust technology. Because we have experienced, what technology has brought for us. We trust technology in the sense of, like, we trust things that, have a certain method to it. But we also have to be careful so that we do not approach Dharma practice, like say you would approach, how to repair your car, or how a mechanic would repair a car. Because it's not methodical in that way. All Buddhist traditions actually would accept this thing that says, the statement that says, the Buddha said, faith is the door to all the other virtues. Here, faith, of course, we're not talking about blind faith. Here we're talking about a certain softness and openness of heart that recognizes, a certain softness and openness of heart that recognizes goodness in the world. And not goodness in the abstract, but goodness embodied. And so the Buddhists, so Buddha Shakyamuni, for example, we need to have devotion to Buddha Shakyamuni. We need to be touched by that example. We need to admire that example. Then from Buddha Shakyamuni providing kind of, you could say, the template of what, an awakened being is, which then also means what potential we all have. Then from the template of Buddha Shakyamuni, many other figures, especially in Tibetan Buddhism, many other figures that are said to also embody those very same qualities that Buddha Shakyamuni embodied. And one of them is, of course, Lady Tara. Lady Tara and her qualities. And since, we live in a world where, human beings are divided into male and female. So then it's, based on our conditioning in thinkings in terms of male and female, and what we project onto what male means and what we project onto what female means. To that degree, it can be helpful that when we think of Buddha, we not only think Buddha Shakyamuni, that we also have the option of thinking Buddha Tara. So that we, in doing that then, one of the reasons for doing that is that then we don't think, enlightenment is limited to being male. And then the qualities that we project onto male and then accidentally think, being enlightened means you need to have those qualities. Then we have turned the Buddhas into samsaric. So this is also important for this reason. Then, of course, over time, when you begin to relate to Lady Tara, if you so choose, I'm not saying you have to, but if you so choose to start relating to Lady Tara, maybe at first for many of us as a principle, but also leave the door open that it is not just principle, then principle again, we again walk back into that, method and, theory and all of that, right? But leave a door open that it's not just a principle, but there is this Buddha called Tara. And she might show up. Leave the door open that in case she shows up, then maybe over time you can begin to experience Tara as a reality. Then in our way of practice, we don't stop there, you know, when we say Tara as a reality, ultimately our view, so to say, our Buddhist view is a view of non-duality. Non-duality means not two. Literally, non-duality means not two. Not two is not necessarily one, okay? It's just not two. Don't so quickly go, oh, you mean one? No, no, no. Don't need to go there. Stay at not two. So what does not two mean? The most basic two that we go around, very committed to two, is self, other. That is the fundamental two that we walk around, putting all our trust, our concerns, our fears, our hopes in the existence of these two, self, other, self, other. But the Buddhist view is not two, non-dual. It's to help, the Buddhist view is that reality is not two. Confused reality separates things into two. Self, other. So this view of not two, we have to see how self, the category of self, to the degree that it exists, is dependent on the category of other. And the category of other, the label of other, only stands if the label of self is there. So it's like a card tent, like two playing cards that you rest against each other, then it makes a tent. But if you take one away, the other doesn't stand, the other falls. So this view of not two, non-duality, applied to how we relate to Buddhatara, also not two. On the relative level, yes, there is you, one card, Lady Tara, another card, standing together. So then what we're training is, to the degree that you think Tara is quote-unquote real, to that degree, self is real. To the degree that Tara is not real, one card falls away, the other falls away, then self falls away. So not two is not necessarily one. It's just not two. Relatively, two is there, but these two rely on each other in order to exist. Ultimately, the two isn't two. So in this non-theistic, non-dual view of Tara, of relating to Tara, simultaneously, Tara is real and Tara is not real. I am real, I am not real. So let's see if anyone has questions, comments. Unmute yourself. Now, you know, we are a Sangha, so we are in the same room. It's a little awkward if everyone is just quiet and I'm the only one talking.
So Tara is actually Schrodinger's Tara? She's real and yet not real?
You have to give a little bit more to some of us who don't know the reference. Rowan.
Oh, it's after 5 p.m. I can't do that.
Fair enough. I think you typed it on the chat, so if people are curious, they can look that up.
I really loved the chanting tonight, both in the English and the Tibetan. But I wanted to thank you for that. It was just very
sure.
sweet. And I did note when you were doing it in the Tibetan, that, yeah, that I didn't, I was concentrating on the pronunciation. And so I kind of lost the meditative aspect of that. But it just takes time to get used to it.
It just takes time. Yeah, you get used to it. You get more and more used to it, you know? Yeah. Especially if that was the first time you heard it, you know, then you did pretty well. If you're able to follow from beginning to the end and not go, wait, where has he gone?
I actually did get lost a couple times. There were a couple of words that I recognized, so I was able to place again.
Right.
That was fun, actually fun.
Yeah. So chanting is a special quality to that, to like reading, you know.
Well, this has a particular, the English version has a very nice flow to it when you're chanting that some of the others don't seem to translate quite as smoothly.
Yes, yeah. This is the work, the translation, as we noted in this text, is translated by one of a very experienced translator of Tibetan to English, and also at this point a teacher in his own right, Eric Kunzang-Pema, who was a disciple of Tulku Ugyen Rinpoche, one of the important teachers of our times, a Nyingma teacher, who is the father of several very, very well-known Rinpoches these days. Mingyo Rinpoche, very well-known these days. His father was Tulku Ugyen Rinpoche, and Eric Kunzang-Pema was a student of Tulku Ugyen. And so he translated the singable version of the praise in 21 verses. With a little poetic license, you know, to get all the meter and the number of syllables. And so the translation isn't exactly academic. And then I guess some people are like, wow, it's not exactly according to the Tibetan, you know, but that's okay. You know, it's according enough. Yeah, and then it evokes a certain, as you know, it touched you. And that's the important part, you know, that we should not leave out in our Buddhist practice, to be touched on the heart level and not just all cerebral, you know, up in the head. In the end, right? Really, when we talk about afflictive emotions, it's the problem of the heart and not the head. Yeah, in the end, the afflictive emotions, you know, it's a problem of the heart, you know. So the heart needs to be touched, the heart needs to change, the heart needs to be refined.
But it feels like it's the problem feels like it's in the head.
Oh, when you suffer, it's not in the head.
Conflictive feeling feels like it's in the head.
Yeah, well, feels, you know. Yeah, when you're sad, when you're disappointed, when you are upset, you know, it's the heart that aches. Then your head, you know, if you want to think it through, even when you thought it through with your head, you know, the pain is still there.
Dr. Lai?
Yes.
I had a question about the emptiness you were talking about, and I've been kind of mulling it over for a while now, and I want to know if maybe you could give me some clarification where I'm falling down.
Mm-hmm.
Since all inner and outer phenomena are essentially the nature of one's own mind, and mind ultimately can't be established because awareness is outside of the four extremes, right? Pristine awareness. Does that ultimately mean that every time, even if a Buddha were to interact with us right now, you could say simultaneously that while it has a separate mind stream, it's also the nature of one's own mind. So in that case, it's non-dual, but it's also dual because we're not all the same mind stream.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay. Am I messing up anywhere here, or is it?
No.
No. Okay. Yeah, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Lloyd?
Yeah, not messing at all, but I just want to raise a question, Can it hold water?
No, not at all.
It's sort of the style of Kagyupas, the early Kagyupas would be, can it hold water?
No. Because reality is ultimate.
But the point is not, therefore, that is pointless. But the point is, let us, not like right now, literally, what I want to encourage you is to go from there to making it hold water, so to say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So to go, okay, what is the take-home lesson of that point?
I guess for me, it would be ultimate reality is beyond conceptual elaboration. So that
And therefore, what is the take-home lesson?
It can only be experienced, not logically brought to a logical conclusion.
There is a better take-home lesson. Take
Okay,
some time.
I'll work on it. I'll work on it.
Yeah. Good. Cesar?
Hi.
Hey.
Dr. Lloyd, with all of you, this is the first time that I chant Tara praises. It's the first time. I'm wondering if listening the Tara's chant from you is like receive the lung.
You can think of it that way. Yeah.
Yes, because in the past I never do the practice, nothing with Tara. It's the first time, and I was wondering the other time there is like the loom is something like that. If I listen it from you.
Yeah, lung. So the question Cesar is asking is, so if you follow the formality of Tibetan Buddhist practice, then often you will hear the importance of receiving empowerment, the reading transmission, and the pith instructions in terms of the second one, reading transmission, is what's called lung in Tibetan. Give me 1 second, some technical. Jasper, can you give me back host so that I can fix the problem? Some weird stuff going on. Let's see. 1 second.
Anything with quantum mechanics, that's what we're discussing on chat.
My cat was very offended when I brought up Schrodinger, I assure you, Christina.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. So the question is about getting the reading transmission of any text or any practice that at the minimal, even if we do not have like the empowerment, we want to have at least the reading transmission of the practice. So Cesar's question was that, you know, when he was listening to the chant, would that count as a reading transmission? When reading transmissions are given, it's done in, you know, like, okay, now I'm going to give you the reading transmission. Now you listen, you know, in a formal way. But if you ask me, I would say that the reading transmission, the bottom line of that reading transmission is so that you are connected to a practice, not just relying on having picked up a book and now you are reading it on your own, interpreting it on your own, figuring it out on your own, but rather you are connecting to a practice within a community of people. In other words, a sangha, a lineage. From someone who has heard it from someone who has heard it from someone, and linking it back to kind of be plugged into a broader context of other human beings. Of course, in the traditional emphasis, they will say, you know, make sure you get your oral reading transmission or oral transmission from someone who has heard it for sure from someone else, who has heard it properly from someone else and someone else and someone else. Yeah, and they talk about the importance of making sure that it's intact, it is not compromised. Yeah, all of that. But to me, the underlying point is that our practice should not be do it yourself in isolation. Yes, tremendous emphasis in Buddhist practice, as this morning I was talking about this, tremendous emphasis in Buddhist practice on how you have to do it yourself. No one can solve, ultimately, no one can save us. We have to do it ourselves. But sometimes that point is brought too far to the extreme, that we think that, you know, this is just our own solitary endeavor, when in fact it is not. All Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are dedicating merit to us. All other practitioners are dedicating merit to us. And all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who have become Buddhas and Bodhisattvas became Buddhas and Bodhisattvas because you dedicated merit to them, whether this life or past lifetimes. So this interdependence, you know, is what keeps it also that we are all connected, you know, that we are all doing this together. Yeah, both is equally important. We have to do it ourselves, and we do it with help from many, many, support from many, many others, blessings of many, many others, kindness of many, many, many others. Other questions or comments?
Oh, there's plenty on chat.
Well, that's, you know, conversations going on the side in this room.
No, it's pretty germane. It's pretty germane to the whole emptiness discussion.
Oh, well, yeah. But let's try to keep everyone here in conversations.
Dr. Lai, I wanted to say, I mentioned once before that Tara, I found myself in all the different roles of Tara as a parent, raising my kids, sometimes ferocious, and sometimes peaceful, and sometimes swirling and happy. And even at the time, it seemed like I was playing a role rather than actually expressing Randy, because it was a little removed from the adult Randy. It was me interacting with children, and they needed me to be this way or that way. And so the role came along, or that force of Tara came along at the appropriate moment.
Yes. Yeah.
So rather than it being, you know, this Tara statue or this body, it seems that this statue is a representation of a force that seems to be universal among, at least, I mean, I love looking at mothers' behavior, universal across the spectrum. We all, and probably fathers too, we all have to act certain ways for the benefit of these little kids so that they can learn and learn how to interact with other people in the world.
Right. Yeah, sure. And Tara, you know, does it effectively because there is no more the problem of confusion.
Yeah, it's true.
Whereas, you know, we have varying degrees of that, right? And we sometimes embody that principle more effectively than other times. But that principle is something that we can relate to, and it resonates. And then especially, I think it resonates for like literal mothers. I think in ways that it doesn't resonate so naturally, like this man here who is single with no kids, you know? So there's ways in which these principles, while they are universal, they also resonate more powerfully with the particular circumstance of, you know, different individuals. And so therefore in Vajrayana, there's so many deities with so many possibilities of how many hands, how many legs, how many eyes, how many breasts, how many, you know, all of that.
Right.
Because, and that's demonstrating that principle of like, whereas the principle, the essence is universal, yeah, how the intended audience resonates with the principle has a lot to do with the individual circumstance of that. Yeah.
Right. And the interesting part to me is that it doesn't have to do with the personality of the person. It has nothing to do with the personality. When you're holding a baby and you want it to sleep, you have to act a certain way. You know? Pretty much, you know, in 90% of the time, you must be quiet. You must be gentle. You must be, you know, have two arms and hold it close. And so the personality has to go away, even if you're frantic.
Well, that's why Tara, you know, empty of essence, has realized that, and so she can most effectively respond to. Whereas when our personality is still in the picture, then our agenda is, you know, there.
in varying degrees.
Then sometimes it stands in the way and sometimes it messes things up. Yeah.
And Tara is Tara's an enlightened being, and she's the mother of enlightenment. That's the way I was taught, or that was the way it was. It was brought to me no more than a week ago. So I don't know who it was. Maybe you, maybe another Lama, but somebody said it was that she's the mother of enlightenment. So. And I think you said that she was beyond samsara and beyond nirvana. She just in luminosity, and she appears to us when we kind of need her, you know, or that we call her, you know. So,
She's a Buddha.
So, quick question. When you say Tara is real and is not real, are we talking about this illusory form is illusory, or there's in the sense of emptiness that is?
I know, more specifically, I said Tara is as real as you think you are real, and is as not real as you think you are not real.
Got it. Okay.
That's what we have to work on.
It's all in the mind, right?
No, I'm not saying that.
Is it like we have a relative existence now, and but we have an essence, so we are not actually dual. We can think of about us and others like they're existing and not existing, but it's not like that. So Tara is not like that either.
Well, yeah.
Because if I identify myself as Lucrecia now, but if I the more and the more I identify myself with this, with everything that I've learned since I was born about Lucrecia, then of course there's a duality, because my essence is not Lucrecia. I'm not gonna be Lucrecia in next life, or so I'm actually not Lucrecia. But Tara can be different things for all of us, depending on what we need. I think she should appear to us, and maybe we can have a relation with her, depending also what we need. She's going to be there for our needs.
Yeah, sure. My answer for Samantha is that we need to work on, if you say Tara is real, then she's as real as we are real. If we say Tara is not real, then can we see that we are not real? So this is not theory anymore. This is not philosophy. This is, we have to experience. So if we want to say, Tara is real, then we can also turn around and say, am I real or not? If we want to say Tara is not real, am I real or not? Yes, work on that. Melissa?
I think I'm confused, because I guess I'm not sure what you mean when you say real.
I don't know. I did not ask that. She did.
I mean, when you say what you just said, that if we say Tara is real, it depends on how real we...
So it's back to you.
So are you...
How real do you think you are real? And what do you mean by real?
What do you mean?
I did not bring this up.
Yes, you were teaching on it.
I said if you want to formulate the question, is Tara real or not real?
Yeah.
Is she just in the mind? Well, are you just in the mind or not?
Are you pointing to that the deity aspect is within us when you say that, or? Okay, I'm so confused.
It's like a koan.
If we say the deity aspect is just within us, yeah, the danger is I am more real, deity is less real. No? Can you see that?
I don't understand it, but I'll try.
No,
Okay.
can you see that? No need to, it's not so hard. Can you see what is the problem when we say the deity is just within my own mind? Then your own mind is primary. Deity is secondary.
Okay, I see where I went wrong.
Yeah. But then if you say, oh, no, deity is out there, what is wrong with that as well?
Okay. Neither only one place or the other.
Yeah.
Okay.
You cannot reduce deity to you. You cannot, treat deity as out there like, a theistic God. But neither is deity just, oh, it's just my mind.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's the real and the unreal. So often, we say, oh, all of this is just my mind, Oh, yeah, that sounds really nice, Yeah, but, try walking through that door, see if it is in your mind. Of course it is in your mind, but still, it's rather hard to walk through that door. So when Buddha says that door is in your mind, yeah, it doesn't mean, if you try to walk through it without opening it, you are going to succeed.
Well, when I think of Tara, like right now, when I think of Tara and I see her figure, I figure she's real, I'm real. Or if I think of her as a force, she's a force, I'm a force. I think of her as I'm on the same plane, except for, she's part of the luminosity. I'm part of the luminosity. It's just, I don't quite know how to explain it, but I like to think that I'm on the even plane with her. Because, it kind of helps us, get to that point, at least to me anyway.
Good.
So you're saying we don't get Buddha's superpowers of walking through doors, correct?
Yet.
When you are talking about passing through doors, are you talking about like astral travel?
No, the door. Can you get through the door without opening it?
In your body.
Yeah.
Only if you're Milarepa.
Yeah, only if you're Milarepa, But if no one is watching, is Milarepa really walking through walls? It's a variation of if a tree falls in the forest and no one is there, do you hear it or not? Same, Milarepa walking through walls of his cave, if no one is perceiving, is he walking through caves or not? I don't know. What I want to emphasize is that try, to see like, what is the take-home lesson? What can we take into our practice? What does it mean, When suffering arises, how can I use this information? Tara is out there, Tara is in here. Emptiness is this, emptiness is that. When suffering arises, what are we going to do with the Dharma that we have received? Can we make that hold water? That's the holding water. Yeah. Can we make it hold water? Can we put the Dharma that we learn into use, into practice when suffering arises, especially? That is really important. Yeah. Because many of us, we're really smart, as in like intellectually smart, really. We can read a lot of books and kind of get it all, we are way more educated than Milarepa ever was, really. You know more about Buddhist ideas, I think. Not all of you, but many of you know more about Buddhist ideas and theories and concepts, not just from one tradition, Tibetan Buddhism. You're exposed to Zen, you're exposed to Pure Land, you're exposed to Theravada, you're exposed to this, you're exposed to that, From that perspective, you know more than Milarepa knows. But when the time of suffering arriving, we need to know, what's going to work. Yeah, remember I told that story about a young monk who was very intelligent, and even in Tibetan society too, they value a lot, intelligence and knowledge, and especially like for someone from an ordinary background, not an aristocrat, the way to rise up in Tibetan society in the old days is to become a great scholar. And you get a lot of respect, like a monastic scholar, because the knowledge was the kind of the in the hands of the monastic system. So there were no like secular scholars in Tibetan society until now. Now, of course, things are changing. But for hundreds of years, right? Knowledge is in the hands of the monastic context. And so for someone to, especially a non-aristocratic person who wants to gain prominence, you become a great scholar. So the story, the example given is there was a young monk who was very intelligent, and the villagers and in that little village was very impressed. And so they all, so then he became a monk at the local like monastery. And you might think, everyone in the monastery is very educated. Actually, no, the primary requirement for being in a monastery is that you learn how to say the prayers, and you learn how to do prayers for others. So a lot of times monasteries are there to serve the community, right? In a way, like you can say, to give them some sense of security and safety. Is how a lot of small temples and monasteries throughout Tibet function socially. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that these monks, are not pursuing enlightenment. Some of them probably focus on that, but a lot of it, their primary duty really is to serve the community. All the rites of passage, people are born, people die, everything in between, you ask the local monk to do for you or to help. So anyway, but if there is a young monk who is intelligent, you know, shows promise, then the village will come together. So the story goes, then they send this young monk to the capital city, where there are great seats of learning, kind of like Oxford, Cambridge, you know, the Tibetan equivalent. So in the capital city, it's like Drepung and Ganden Monastery. And there, particularly, you are trained to debate. And you pass your examinations by passing primarily debates. So you go there for, 15 to 20 years. And then you take the public examination. And then if you win the debates, then you become a great scholar, a geshe or a geshe larampa, which is like a geshe with honors, right? So this young monk comes back, now not so young, as when he left, as a geshe larampa, totally schooled in Buddhist text and teachings and everything, and debate and logic and reasoning. So he comes back, and of course, there's a lot of joy, and they're so proud of him, and he has brought fame to the village. The village maybe has never had such a great scholar. So he was very satisfied, and everyone was very satisfied. So then when he came back, some of the old monks, even very senior monks, have to give respect to him. So he was put on the main seat in the monastery, like the throne, the main seat, and big celebration. After a while passed, this geshe, was still kind of like basking in his, reputation and glory. Then after a while, one day, somebody comes, running to the monastery, to the little temple, and has say, help, we need someone to come and ask the geshe and say, Geshe-la, can you come? My father is dying. And so then this geshe is like, oh, he was a little, not sure, and he grabbed one of the old monks. He said, come with me, So both of them went. They arrived at the house, and everyone is crying, and at that point, the father has passed away. So the geshe comes, and he sits down, and the old monk sits next to him, and everyone looks at the geshe looks at everyone who is crying, and they're all waiting for him to do something, Then he sheepishly leans over to the old monk and whispered to the old monk, like, what do I do now? And the old monk goes, well, go ahead and debate the guy. Go ahead and debate the guy, the old monk said, And of course, this is like, oh my gosh, he cannot do anything to help this guy who has passed away, and he cannot do anything to help all the grieving people there, because, you're a great scholar, you have learned all these things, now what? Right? Now what? Yeah. So we, really have to pay attention to now what, right? Then if we think, oh, I can develop this power, this ability to fly, to levitate, to be over in that house and knowing what they are saying and this and that, and, but not knowing those things is not what brings suffering. Yeah?
Dr. Locke?
Yes.
After that story, you made me remember what I've been reflecting on, and it's that for all my learning, which I have a decent amount, I think, but ultimately the habits in my mind stream haven't been dealt with as much as I wish they have been.
Right, right, right.
And I've tried numerous ways to deal with certain afflictions that are more prevalent in my mind stream. And I wonder if in certain ways the scholastic pursuits is a distraction rather than learning to deal with what needs to be dealt with for the sake of all mother sentient beings, but rather finding a way out to sheepishly put myself into the corner.
Right, right, right. Yeah, it can be, you know, like it's like, oh, maybe if I learn one more thing, you know, then I'll know how to do it.
With this.
Yeah.
One more trick to deal with this habit.
Right,
rather
right.
than putting in the effort.
Yeah, maybe if I collect another tool, you know, I might need it, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, no, 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 no. You have all the tools already, you know. Now just get to work.
Yeah.
And when it gets to work, you have to be gentle, you know. You cannot be harsh with yourself, because no, if you judge yourself and bad, you know, he did not do, you know, that's not going to work either.
Yeah, I struggle with that particularly.
Yeah.
Because I try.
Many of us struggle with that. It's just the way, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, I have all these seeds in my mind stream, right? In my base storehouse consciousness, and at any moment, death could come, and you know, where will I be then?
Yes.
And I think, you know, I have great devotion to Guru Padmasambhava, and I trust him in the bardo without a doubt. I don't. But it does kind of give me pause, somewhat worry, I guess, a little bit, that I don't have even though I have all this knowledge, I don't have the tools, ironically, to be able to deal with this.
Yeah. And ultimately, you know, yes, there's a lot of talk about trusting the guru, but you see, again, this is not a theistic system, you know. If somebody else can pull us out of suffering, then they would have done it long time ago, you know. Buddha Shakyamuni would have done it. Guru Rinpoche would have done it, you know. Milarepa would have done it, you know. All the 35 Buddhas would have done it. The 1,000 Buddhas would have done it, you know. But it's not possible in the end, you know.
That's why we make the causes and conditions, right? Through reciting their mantra. And
so when we say we have faith, you know, faith in what? You know, like it says, have faith in, you know, Avalokiteshvara. What does that mean?
Well, I guess I would say it's the interdependence of phenomena. The fact that when I recite the mantra, I'm creating the causes and conditions to interact with that Buddha.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what I'm not like asking you to answer the question.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know.
I'm raising it for all of us, you know.
Okay.
Like when we say, you know, we trust, you know, be careful, right? Don't think of it as, you know, oh, something is going to happen and that I don't understand that, you know, we'll just like poof, you know, I'll be good, you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
But we have to create those conditions, and then we have to create those causes, and then to trust that the conditions are there. As in the conditions provided by the Buddhists are going to be there. But the causes have to come from our end. Then when causes and conditions come together, then it can happen. Yeah. So here, you know, we have to work on kind of letting the Dharma really enter our heart. Right? So then, you know, what we've been looking at, right? The 4 dharmas of Gampopa. So in that text that I have shared with you, I'm now looking at page 3 of that text. It says, you know, Gampopa says, you know, that we need a dharma that turns toward the dharma, a dharma that turns toward the path, a path that dispels delusions, and delusions that appear as wisdom. So under a dharma that turns toward the dharma, one needs to meditate intensely. Again, meditate here means to habituate again and again and again and again. Intensely don't mean, you know, like type A, you know, I want it now, you know. Intensely here means like deeply. Let it sink in deeply again and again and again and again. On what? On impermanence of both outer and inner phenomena. Outer phenomena is talking about the physical universe. The inner phenomena is talking about sentient beings. So both animate and inanimate objects, people, places, things, all, you know, it's impermanent. They're subject to change. And they're unreliable. You cannot count on them to be there. So one example, it's like, you know, like we need to know, you know, like all the things that we use, all the things that we use, that in a way you should know that it's already broken. When I know that this prayer wheel is already broken, it doesn't mean therefore, oh, it's all gloom. But rather, if I know that it's already broken, as in its nature is composite, so it's already broken, then in a way you could say, I cherish it more in this moment. And so in the Dhammapada, it says, you know, only fools who don't understand that we all die will waste time picking fights with anyone. I love that, you know. I'm that fool for sure, you know. But luckily now, you know, not too far down being a fool in these situations, those words from the Dhammapada will pop up, you know, and say only fools who don't understand that they're going to die would waste time picking fights with anyone. So this is not the not picking fights because you feel defeated, or not picking fights because you are too exhausted, but rather, or not picking fights because you've gotten used to being bullied. Here it's about not picking fights because, you know, you get it, like, oh my God, like this is ridiculous. Yeah, in our morning program, we talked about one of the aspects of giving rise to regret, regret in committing and creating unskillful actions, is to see the pointlessness and the meaninglessness and the uselessness of unskillful, non-virtuous actions. It says, when you see this, you know, also Gampopa, it says, when you see this, you know, you quite naturally say, okay, I don't have time for this nonsense. So here, it says, when you see the impermanence of both outer and inner world, this is not like, you know, Gampopa wanting to, like, you know, throw cold water on you and, you know, break up your party, you're having a good time and say, hey, you know, everybody's going to die. Sometimes it sounds like that, you know. But he's not saying that, you know. He's saying, hey, do you know, you're going to die. And there are many ways of dying. Yeah. Do you know that this prayer wheel is going to die? Do you know that, you know, your electricity is going to die? And if you know, right, then you don't take for granted what is functioning right now. It's like, oh, wow, yeah, you know, you don't take for granted whoever is in front of you. Now, here he says, you leave behind all ties to material things, belongings, and close ones. Of course, this point, many followed this and literally did this. For all of us, every one of us, we have to see to what degree of this that we can actually do. And we do that. But the more basic underlying point is not so much that you have to throw your material things, your belongings, and the close ones away. Yeah, so there's this story about, this guy who one day was so inspired and decided, I'm going to sell everything I have and go up into this cave where I have built a little hut, and I'm going to go into perpetual retreat. So he did that, then he went up. A few years later, he came back down. People saw him. It's like, oh, what? You're back, I was like, yeah, I decided to come back down. And they said, why? Why? He said, well, because after a few years of being up there, I realized that everything that I thought I gave away, I sold away, I left behind, I carried all of them up to that little cave with me. And I've not been able to, be free from it. So I thought, might as well just come back and, so that is, it's like that story, right, of the two monks who came to the riverbank and saw a woman that needed help to cross the river. And one of the monks picked up this woman without even thinking twice, which according to monastic rules, you're not supposed to do that. Yeah. Then cross the river, said to the woman, here, you jump on my back, I'm crossing, I'll take you across, Then the other monk, like, oh my God, how can he do that? And after a few miles of walking, he finally said, like, how could you do that? Then the monk who carried the woman said, wait, what are you talking about? Right. And then this other monk said, like, you carried that woman across the river. And then this monk, said, well, yeah, I did carry her across the river, but I left her, the minute we crossed the river. But looks like you've been carrying her all this time. Yeah. So here, leave behind the ties. Leave behind the ties. And this point, and then set out for the uncertain. I think just this one point, set out for the uncertain, we can practice that, because a lot of times what we all need, I'll be the first to admit, is I want certainty. But what Gampopa is pointing out to is like the so-called certainty that you want and you think you have all along, it's not true. It's a facade. It's a lie. So he's saying here, set out for the uncertain. Again, quite literally, there are people who do this, right? Go out into uncertainty. Now, I don't think, I would encourage you to do this, cut your ties with material things, belongings, and close one, and set out for uncertainty. Without changing your life circumstance, without leaving behind your family, your dog and your cat, we can still practice this, which is cut the ties or loosen the ties to the things, the situations, the people that tie us down in a false sense of certainty, and develop more ability to sit with the uncertain. No need to go look for uncertainty, but develop a certain toughness, you could say that, for the uncertain. Therefore, after thinking that any non-dharma is futile, meaning any actions that is against dharma, meaning the way things are, that's what dharma here means. Thinking that, if we act in ways that is against the way things are, the way things are is that things are impermanent. Things are subject to change. But if you walk around going, oh, don't change, don't change, don't change, well, that is non-dharma. Yeah. And one thing, non-dharma, one thing, what is to be is not, that's futile. Waste of time. Pointless. When we start to think that any non-dharma is futile, pointless, then dharma practice that turns toward the dharma. Here, there's many negatives here. It's a little confusing, but the translator is being faithful to the Tibetan. We could rewrite this, honestly, and not be so literal in the translation, perhaps, for our purposes. Of course, this translation was submitted as a dissertation to some university, so it needs to be very exact. So I'm not saying he didn't do a good job, but just for our purposes, we could rewrite this. So back up a little. Therefore, after thinking that any non-dharma is futile, dharma practice that turns toward the dharma of merit will not at all come about when a mindset of utter non-occupation has not arisen. Did you get all of that? Actually, if you follow it carefully, you can get it, which is go all the way to the end, has not arisen. Yeah. Okay. What has not arisen? Utter non-occupation, meaning, right? Completely not bound by things, has not arisen. And if that has not come about, what will not, if that has not arisen, what will not come about? What will not come about is dharma practice that turns towards the dharma. Rearranging all of these words, you have to make the resolve. You have to remain in an attitude, in a state of mind that says, I am not going to get caught up in pointless, meaningless, stupid things. That's my translation. Yeah. You have to make that resolve. It says, if you don't make that resolve, then dharma is not going to go towards dharma. So a mindset of utter non-occupation, meaning a mindset of utter unentangled. In other words, develop a mindset, an attitude to things so that you are not tangled up, tied up. Develop freedom. Develop a determination to be free. And don't give up that. Furthermore, as for death, one never knows when the time will come. One has no control over whether it happens in the coming year or right now or tomorrow. Yeah, whether next year, tomorrow or next life will come first, we do not know. Therefore, by thinking that one has also no control over dying the coming year, next month, or right now, one understands that one's consciousness will be accompanied merely. So here is talking about death is certain, when it will happen is uncertain, and when it happens, the only things that go with you is the quality of your actions. Is what this next section, the rest of this is saying. The quality of our actions of body, speech, and mind. As for the qualities of our actions, body, speech, and mind, it says, first you need to know that it is impossible that one will meet with karma that one did not produce. So if you did not produce, right, skillful, virtuous karma, it's impossible for you to meet with results that you will label as desirable. Likewise, if you did not create negativity, non-virtue, it is impossible for you to meet up with conditions that you label as undesirable or suffering. So that we have to trust. Shorter of the four dharmas, the first text, this is the second text in this collection. The first text says actually, trust karma. I remember when we were talking about that, someone they asked, what do you mean by trust karma? It means this: trust that, if you plant an apple seed, you'll get an apple plant. If you plant a mango seed, you'll get a mango tree. That karma will not be wrong in that way. Trust that. When you trust that, a lot of anxieties kind of go away, really. A lot of anxieties go away. So it is impossible that one will meet with karma that one did not produce. Next point here, the last point in this section, it is impossible that the karma produced becomes spoiled. Now here, right, it sounds as if he's saying, once karma is created, that's it, fixed. He's not saying this because we know from elsewhere, from the jewel ornament of liberation, he says, negative actions that has been created in the past, before they ripen, we can lessen the negative results that will come. We can purify, we can clear away, we can minimize. Tamopa tells us that. From elsewhere, we also know. Buddha's teaching is also very clear. So during our morning session, we've been talking about this topic. It can change, it can be purified. It can be lessened if we know how to do that. So this evening, we are going to stop here. But let's see if there are some questions or comments up until this point. Soon, before long, we're going to start learning. I'll introduce to you this foundational practice called Ngondro. Refuge practice, Vajrasattva practice, offering mandala, and Guru Yoga practice. Soon we're going to start that. Questions?
Hi, Dr. Lai. Are you gonna give a lung for the Nondro?
Yeah, of course. Otherwise, we cannot really do it, you know. Yeah. The reading, transmission, the instructions, you know.
It is going to be based on the Garchen, Lama Garchen Nondro.
Say what?
It is going to be based on the Lama Garchen's Nondro?
No.
No, another?
Yeah,
What type?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, there's a, let me see. His Holiness Garchen Rinpoche, he compiled a Nondro text called, let me see, let me search for it. And
Yeah, no. Anyway, okay, now I know. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, Gajen Rinpoche has maybe written some Ngondro that his disciples practice. You know, no, that's not what we're doing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no.
The excellent path to enlightenment, a practice of the preliminaries of the fivefold Mahamudra.
Right. Yeah. I've heard of it, yeah, but I don't know much about that. And this one is by the text that I tend to use, you know, like or the ones that I practice myself. They are from the ancient people. Yeah, this is from Dugong Dharmakirti himself. You know, the name that our group is named after, by Kinjen Rinpoche. The first Chungzang Rinpoche, Dugong Dharmakirti, you know, wrote this this short ngondro for. It's called a gyunche. There is a type of practice that is in Tibetan is called gyunche. Gyunche means less literally, it means daily practice. Gyun is almost like continuity, so that you do not break the continuity of practice. Historically, this Gyunche Ngondro is not so much meant for retreat. Because in retreat, you do a much longer Ngondro. So there is the kind of Ngondro where you complete a certain set number of, you know, this or that. Right? The usual is 100,000 of this, 100,000 of that. That kind of Ngondro is done in the context of retreat. And so there is the talk of, have you completed or have you not completed? Yeah. And likewise, like with deity practice, there are also deity practice where you have to complete like 1.3 million recitations of, you know, the Guru mantra or however number, right? And those sadhanas are usually very long, extensive, and you go into retreat and you accumulate that. The Gyunche types of sadhana, and including the Gyunche type of Ngondro, is to maintain the continuity of the practice every day until end of this life. So this is and it tends to be shorter. And there is no, like, you know, you finish this much, this much, this much, this much. There, it's not in there.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Lai.
Yeah, so now page 22 of the opening and dedication. Page 22. Mei Ma, can you lead us in that page 22? 22:2, let's see, from 22 to 31.
Great Vajradhara, Tilipa, Naropa, Marpa, Milarepa, Dharma Lord Gampopa, Pagmudrupa, and Conqueror Drikungpa. Please bestow upon us the most auspicious blessings of all you Kagyu Gurus. By this merit may I achieve the all-knowing state. May all who wander on the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death cross the ocean of samsara by defeating enemies of faults and delusions. By the virtues collected in the 3 times in samsara and nirvana, and the innate virtue, and in the primordially co-emergent mandala of the mind, may I realize the exalted intention of Jiten Gonpo, the indivisibility of the 2 truths in the exalted form of Vajradhara. In all lifetimes, may I never be separated from the perfect gurus, but enjoy the richness of the glorious Dharma. Having thoroughly perfected the exalted qualities of the grounds and paths, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. May the 80,000 classes of obstructors be pacified, thus freeing this place from unfavorable and harmful conditions. May the harmonious and excellent endowments be established, and with this auspiciousness bring about bliss and happiness. May there be well-being in the world and good harvests, much yield of grain and flourish of Dharma. May auspiciousness be established in all places, and all that is wished for fulfilled. May the collection of favorable conditions and resources for the Dharma, for ourselves and others, be fulfilled according to our wishes. May the multitudes of diseases, evil spirits, obstructors, hindrances, and others be appeased and pacified. Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn, may it arise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. I pray for the excellent health of the Gurus, and may the Gurus' supreme life be long. May the Gurus' activities spread far and wide, and may I be blessed not to be separated from the Gurus. Just as heroic Manjushri knows everything as it is, and Samanta Bhadra, who is thus as well, so too will I follow in their path and perfectly dedicate all the virtues accumulated. Through this dedication, praised as supreme by the conquerors of the 3 times, I dedicate all of these roots of virtue to accomplishing the noble deeds. By the blessings of the Buddhas who have attained the 3 kayas, by the blessings of the truth of the unchanging Dharma as such, by the blessings of the indivisible Sangha order, may these dedication and aspiration prayers be accomplished. By the truth of the 3 jewels and the blessings of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and by the great might of the complete perfection of the 2 accumulations, and by the strength of the completely pure and inconceivable Dharma Dhatu, may this be attained accordingly. By the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Bodhi. By the blessings of the truth of the Kagyu Gurus, the excellent 3, Idams, Dakinis, and Dharmapalas, may the spiritual and temporal places of the tradition of the 2nd Nagarjuna flourish. Whatever discordant thoughts that cause harm may arise, may they be pacified, and may there be abundant prosperity and happiness. May the teachings of the great Drikungpa Ratnashri, the all-knowing Dharma Lord, Master of Interdependence, continue to increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. By the power of the virtues collected in accordance with the teachings of the pure realizations of the unmistaken teacher, may the teachings of Ratnashri of the Drikung, the protector of on the 10th Bhumi, flourish perpetually.
Thank you. So we are done for this meeting.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah. Ta-ta.
Thank you,
Good night. Be
Thank
well.
you. Buenas
Gracias.
noches. Good night, everybody.
Gracias, Dr. Lai.
Hasta luego.
Thank you.
Night, Malaysia.
Hasta el próximo
Gracias.
miércoles.
Que tengan buenas
Bye,
noches.
everyone.
Good evening to everyone.